Welcome everyone to this special ASHE on-demand session reviewing the results of the recent College and University Recycling Coalition survey of campus waste management programs for the fall semester. We know there's a lot of options at this conference, so whenever and wherever you are, we're glad to have you join us. For those of you unfamiliar with CURC, the College and University Recycling Coalition is a member-based organization that works to grow collegiate recycling and waste reduction efforts by fostering technical information exchange and networking opportunities between the staff and student leaders implementing these programs. So if you're hoping to network and share best practices about recycling, composting, and sustainable materials management at colleges and universities, then you've come to the right place with us. In lieu of our annual workshop at this global conference on sustainability in higher ed, we are happy to be hosting this ASHE on-demand session in which we haven't really been able to network in the way that we usually do, but with this survey, we've still gathered information from our members and given it back in a way that we hope helps everyone involved with the process. For today's session, my name is Eric Halverson, and I'm the program coordinator for CURC. Whether it is organizing webinars, sending out our newsletters, or sharing resources through our website, I'm usually the person behind the scenes at CURC, making sure everything goes smoothly for you, and I'm happy to be the host for this special session about our fall 2020 reopening survey. What our team tried to do for this survey at CURC, our all-volunteer board, as well as the U.S. Composting Council and Elevate Packaging, was ask about how campus operations are being changed this fall, so we can find resources to meet those challenges. We're always a network of people trying to help each other out, but this is the best way we could do this virtually for the fall semester in a time where things are, of course, in a new kind of normal, and CURC is trying to meet those challenges as they come. First, I want to thank our partners. First of all, ASHE, who provided us with the logistical way to record this webinar, and of course, including us in this conference for this fall. We appreciate everything they do for us. Our other partners were the people who helped us put together this actual survey and distribute it, the U.S. Composting Council and Elevate Packaging. So we wouldn't have been able to do it without these two organizations. So first of all, we'll start with some general trends. 79 people took the survey across these different campuses, and at the time of taking the survey, which is about mid to late August, about half of the schools had begun their fall semesters. The people actually implementing these sustainability programs, a big trend among them is the staffing uncertainty itself. Many people are relying on student interns and student volunteers to get these programs done in the way that they would like. And with limited on-campus activities and limited ability to work together in person, that has created a big staff uncertainty, as well as some universities going through some hardship with losing positions for people amid the uncertainty of this current time. So it's a big trend, and if you're experiencing this here, if you're joining us, you might be in an office experiencing this. You're definitely not alone. And if you're in a particular strait, whatever it is, your problem on your campus, what we learned in the survey that no one was completely uniquely alone in a problem that they had on their campus. So hopefully as you go through, you can see some of the problems that you've been experiencing and get some answers for how to help tackle those moving forward. So first of all, we talked about collecting waste on campuses. The biggest change by far was this big blue bar here, a reduction in campus activity, which we understand as a result of social distancing, other smaller student populations on campus. That by far was the biggest thing for people. Number 2 is safety concerns. We'll address this kind of concern throughout the presentation, but we want to make sure, obviously, that we're collecting, recycling, and any kind of other waste on campus safely for the workers, for everyone involved along the waste stream. So we'll provide resources on how to kind of get that kind of thing done moving forward. And then number 3 is just like we pointed out earlier, a reduction in staff or a change in staff. So hopefully we can all figure out ways to get these kind of materials management things done, even with less people, especially when there's less activity on campus. In reason number 1, that is a big reason why there's been a reduction in staff as well. All right, moving on. The largest changes in dining, which we asked about, was dine-in seating and grab and go. By far, these are the biggest changes. People are limiting their dine-in capacity, and they're increasing their grab and go or to-go programs for people so they can dine safely on campus. So we'll definitely be addressing these big trends throughout the whole, throughout this presentation, as we talk about different aspects of the survey and different areas where people are facing problems, such as composting, food packaging, food rescue, and more. But other factors will come into play as well, like these ones we see below, about new vendors on campus and different introductions of things into the waste stream, which you might have experienced over the last few months. There's a lot to read on the slide, so let me point out to you the most significant things before you get caught up in everything going on here. In this leftmost column, what we noticed on the CURC team is the lack of composting to begin with in many areas across campuses. Especially as you go farther down the chart, there's more unique circumstances for people doing composting, such as outdoor collection or residential hall collection. This is a barrier to a lot of switching to grab and go composting. We understand for people, especially as people are taking their food outside of the dining halls. Even if you have a reusable container program, they don't have a composting program to put the organic waste in when they get back to wherever they're eating. So this is a big area where we notice that this is where composting could be a very important part of a zero waste program moving forward, especially in a time where reusables and interactions between different people on campus want to be limited as much as possible. Well, reusables can be used safely, but interacting with different people on campuses wants to be limited as much as we can. So some people have found time during the COVID reduction in activities to implement composting. So if you're looking to do this, we're going to provide resources on the next couple slides where you can look into starting your own campus composting program. The next thing on this chart we want to show to you is these two blue squares, which have just appeared on your screen. These are areas where front of house compost was canceled for a multitude of reasons. But this post-consumer organic waste stream is something that we want to recover as much as we can in a zero waste program. And the reasons for people doing this were numerous, but hopefully we can address those as we go through the program. Some of the programs you can see here on the side read as follows. There's too little waste, too little actual organic waste for people to collect, along with that reduction in campus activities. And so not too much we can do about that, but safety concerns are something we can definitely address. What we want to provide to you moving forward is safe information about how to compost, how to manage waste, while either keeping people safe from coronavirus or fighting the stigma that reusable things or more environmentally friendly things might be just as safe as non-recyclable disposable items or things that might actually have to go to the landfill. And next, there's a change in waste stream that causes contamination. Some people have seen this uptick in disposable landfill items, which we'll talk about when we get to food packaging later in the survey. But that has caused some contamination. And when we can't do outreach to connect with people on campuses, that also causes a problem because new students on campus can't get the kind of outreach they need to know how to sustainably manage their waste at all of these dining hall facilities. So that can be a problem that we'll address as well. And then finally, limited drop-off points for staff. Like in the left side column, there's not a lot of composting outside of the dining hall for many places. So this grab and go has really limited access for people who are trying to bring back their post-consumer organic waste to a composting place. All right, we're going to talk about some case studies here. First of all, one of our survey respondents was Colorado State University, so thank you so much for them for filling out our survey. And they have been able to continue their composting in the back of house and in the front of house in their dining courts. So they've been using PPE just like normal as they would handling waste during this pandemic, and following their local health guidelines and regulations. Employees are still able to accept that front of house composting from people, using PPE and sanitizing as much as possible. However, they've been facing contamination problems from lack of education, especially for takeout and new items that people have been bringing back to their front of house areas. So this is a problem of communication again and education. So what they're doing is developing a whole virtual communication campaign on their campuses, and they give some good tips about how to conduct one of these virtual, engaging, and effective campaigns on their campus. Next up, the University of Oregon was another campus that we reached out to follow up from the survey. So thank you so much to them for taking the time to answer. Their composting in the back of house is continuing, regulated by their processor in the Department of Environmental Quality where they live. However, their front of house was canceled because of the contamination on their campuses and their waste stream. So they're planning to restart next year with a whole new plan about how to tackle this new normal, which we can all understand. We've had to make these new plans in the last 6 months to be back on campus and kind of explore what we can do to keep our universities healthy and sustainable. So for people looking for getting into composting, CURC has some amazing resources, and any resource that you hear throughout this presentation will be linked in a document that should be on our website, and it should be linked in the in this portal where you're seeing this presentation. There's a place for links. I should have put it there. So please go looking for that. And we hope that you can find this soon. If you can't find that, we'll talk about it at the end of the presentation, but you can always visit our website, curc3r.org, for any kind of resources like this. But resources for composting, a great one is the Campus Composting Manual from the Post Landfill Action Network and the U.S. Composting Council. They really dive deep into what campus composting means, and it's available for PLAN or Post Landfill Action Network members on their website. The next one is available on the CURC website. It's the EPA Organics Recovery Toolkit, and that's another great resource for people trying to recover this organic waste. All right, we have another chart here with lots of answers. So we're gonna highlight some of the big trends for you here. So as you can see highlighted in red, the most significant area is the 50% or so decrease in reusables on campus, whether that's utensils, refillable cups, and any kind of other diningware. We saw this is a big concern for us, for people who are using those reusables, which are, of course, a very environmentally friendly way of going about doing diningware. But this big decrease is a concern for us moving forward. The next area for you to look at is going to show up in blue here at the bottom of your screen. This is about non-compostable disposables like we talked about. These new items are entering in the waste stream. As you can see in this column, this is a program being added at the top. So this is a concern for us as well, as people might have maybe switched away from durables or reusables for a number of different reasons. Non-compostable disposable things or landfill items have been added in their place. However, there is a little bit of hope for this section, because as you can see in this green area on your screen above the blue circle, compostable plates and takeout containers, as well as cups and utensils, have been the other most significant added program in this section. So we can't draw direct correlations between these in this survey, but at the same time, many disposable landfill items have been added as programs for dining services, whether it be the changing dining areas or safety concerns. But the difference between the durables that were canceled and the landfill that's being added is filled by those compostable single-use containers. So we're seeing a shift away from durables towards disposables, but some campuses have decided to go with compostable disposables rather than the landfill items. So it's a gleam of hope there for anybody who wants to move to a single-use kind of program. There's some things to be learned about what adding a compostable single-use program might look like if you're concerned about not using reusables anymore. We want to pick the more environmentally friendly version of whatever is opposite that. So as you can see, the biggest concern for food service packaging changes was safety by far. So some people answered other at the bottom. That was the second most significant one, such as vendors, new vendors complicating the waste stream. So that's a big difference. Some people could have added compostables, but they didn't have compostable reception outside of the dining halls. So it doesn't make sense. Like we talked about before, composting across campus is really important when you're doing a shift to take out more spread out dining. And in general, some dining areas are not set up for reusable materials, people said. And it can be difficult to reach across departments to implement programs like this, which we understand at CURC. And then finally, some people are just fighting the perception of reusables as being safe. You know, people understandably want to limit their interactions with other folks during this time because we want to keep our social distancing working, and it's the best thing we can do to fight this virus at this time. But we're hopefully in this next slide can provide some safety issued resources for fighting that perception and making sure that people are implementing safe programs on your campus. So here are some examples of adjustments in food packaging. What we want to say here is that compostables and trash and recycling, they're all surfaces. So these are things that using PPE and following health guidelines are all just as dangerous during this times. So we want to follow health guidelines to make sure all these things are properly being done. And if we can choose the sustainable option, of course, we want to choose that one. See these resources at the bottom of this page for help in changing that perception, because we want to make sure people are safe, and we want to make sure people feel safe, and we want to make sure that our environment is safe too. The biggest one that we can provide, first of all, is the Reusables and Sanitation Toolkit from the Post Landfill Action Network, an amazing toolkit for people during this time. And in addition, as you can see in the top right of your screen, they've just done a case study with Lehigh University, walking through their COVID-19 dining hall. So they really walk through step by step what the dining experience is like, and what adjustments the dining halls have made to make them safe and to keep them sustainable for people. And again, there's the health expert statement addressing the safety of reusables in COVID-19. So you can make sure that you listen to the health experts on this, no matter where it comes down to. And then finally, this last resource from MIT Medical: does COVID-19 mean single-use everything? The biggest question that people want to know when it comes to dining and sustainability. So these are great resources, and once again, they'll be linked in the presentation or on our website in a compilation Google Doc of tips, resources, and tricks that people provided to us through the survey, or things that we found to match the needs of the survey. And of course, the biggest one here is fighting that perception of an unsafe environment for sustainable things. All right. Our next section is about food rescue, which was very important to us to ask about during this survey. And first of all, nearly a third of the respondents didn't have a food rescue program of any kind in the first place. And this is an important way to divert organic waste and feed people in need, especially now during the pandemic and the period of economic collapse in this country. People are really struggling to look for food. So hopefully our offices as sustainability offices can help meet this justice need, as well as divert some organic waste. So luckily, there are amazing resources for food recovery and food waste, including ReFed, this organization here in the first resource, how COVID-19 is impacting our food system and how you can take action. It's a page on their website which links to many, many resources about how to implement safe programs and about the importance of doing that right now. So definitely should check that out in the link in our document. And finally, Wasted Food Solutions is an amazing organization that provides a lot of resources about how campuses, schools, businesses, and nonprofits can do their part in reducing food waste wherever possible. And we see in this picture here, this is someone from the Appalachian State Food Pantry, who's doing some amazing work during this time and still providing resources to people. Another case study that we managed to get was with Colorado State University again. They donate to the food bank and nothing has changed. They also have food pantries to help out the students, and they've actually increased their locations during this time to across campus and to 2 days per week instead of once per week, to have people manning those pantries. They're giving away more food to our students and staff than they were before this pandemic, so they have to limit the number of people in locations at one time, but they're able to provide safe, healthy, good food that everyone needs. So they're doing some great work for that. And you can too. So to get to the education part of the presentation, communication has been really difficult. And of course, like we're doing right now, everything is different than before. So we're all adapting and adjusting to make sure that these messages about the waste stream and about all these important sustainability messages get through to you. So we got a lot of tips and tricks from our survey for this. The first one is get to your students early, get to your campus community early. There's lots of coronavirus information, which is extremely important, but you don't want to get lost in the flood of all of that information because campus waste management is important as well. So you want to make sure you reach out to them early and often with this kind of information that they need. Make it clear, and then also an uplifting kind of message, which is important during this time because this is an action that people can take, which is simple but helps. We talked to the University of Oregon again. They're doing no physical handouts during their outreach to people to limit interactions, but they're doing QR codes and a bunch of sorting guides online, which has been helpful for their program to make sure people are educated and aware. When I was working on campus as a sustainability ambassador, I was able to stand by in the dining hall and answer people's questions and point out to people where their waste should go. But we're not able to do that right now. So the University of Oregon has been done an amazing innovation here in which they've created a phone and text hotline for sorting questions. So what people can do is text a number, which 90% of the use of the hotline is for texting. But people can text the number and say, hi, I've got this bag of chips. I don't know where to go. And someone can quickly, promptly get back to them and respond and make sure that they put that in the right place. So it's an awesome, unique idea. And on the next slide, we'll show you how they've implemented that simply onto all of their outreach guidelines and materials. From our survey, some people were able to provide some amazing resources. One of the tips was including PPE on any kind of signage, which is very important, and any kind of new materials that have entered the waste stream during this time, especially disposables. And then finally, hosting interactive virtual events with Zoom. Those will be important as well, doing your creative kind of outreach. Oregon State University offered this story about their program and what they're doing. They're running their waste reduction student club through virtual meetings, potential in-person distance get-togethers, and planning and conducting virtual outreach programs. They're exploring ways to train their staff and volunteers in how their work intersects with social justice work as well, and incorporating these themes into our virtual programs and internal operations. So they're doing some amazing stuff, both doing purposeful, uplifting, and clear outreach to their constituents on their campuses. So now let's show you what the University of Oregon has as their kitchen sorting guide, which you might find if you look at a QR code. It's a typical sorting guide, as you can see, but at the bottom of the page, what we want to highlight here is if you want help with any kind of thing, you can text or call their hotline with a picture, and they can provide some answers for you. So if you're looking for a way for people to have clear, direct, and accessible information, this is one of the ways to do it. All right. These are only some of the many resources and tips we gathered from our survey and from the respondents. The Post-Landfill Action Network's Reuse and Sanitation Toolkit, the Campus Composting Manual we mentioned before, Wasted Food Solutions for Food Rescue, and then many, many more resources about communication, about safety, and all these other amazing resources are all in the document, which you should be able to find in the links section of this presentation to find the resources. But if you cannot find this, it will be available on our website, www.curc3r.org. So you don't want to miss it. And of course, thank you for joining this session. We have the survey data that you can pour through yourself if you want to look through it. That will be available for you. And it will be available on our website, as you can see there as well. All right. If you enjoyed this and you're gonna look forward to enjoying those resources that we linked in our document, we're gonna do a part 2 survey of this to kind of continue the conversation and make sure as we adjust to the new normal, we get everybody in the loop about what the best practices are for that, which is what CURC always does, sharing best practices with each other across campuses. So at the time of you viewing this, you should be able to visit our website, www.curc3r.org, and take the survey yourself. We would greatly appreciate it. It helps us inform our resources like this. And on that upcoming survey, we're partnering again with the U.S. Composting Council, but we're also getting help from Bush Systems, the National Recycling Coalition's Campus Council, and the Zero Waste Campus Council. Some amazing organizations, and at the time of speaking to you, I can already tell you that it's going to be a great resource for people moving forward. All right. Thank you again for joining us. If you enjoyed this and you enjoyed some of the things you learned, then you can definitely visit our website, like we mentioned before, and as you can see here on this page, for a number of webinars, over a decade's worth of webinars that we always host for free on our website and are always accessible to people who just join our network for free. And you can definitely always find things like that there, as well as toolkits, safety toolkits, and links to helpful nonprofits and other organizations that are doing good work to help campus sustainability. If you have any questions about this presentation or about the survey, you can always reach out to me, Eric, at curc3r.org, and I'll be happy to answer that for you. And you can email our general email, curc3r@gmail.com. So thank you all again. I greatly appreciate your time, taking it whenever and wherever you are during this exceptionally unique global conference on sustainability in higher education. So on behalf of myself and on behalf of the College and University Recycling Coalition, thank you for coming, and we hope to see you in the future.